do all real estate agents, come in and when they list their house, like they flip the house upside down and do all these remodel?
When I help someone sell their house, I'm going to come in and we're going to identify which projects we absolutely need to do in order to you really get the top dog dollar for the home. Now, sometimes that means we're just going to clean the carpets. Sometimes it means we're just going to paint, but some of them we really needed to. And this one in particular was just in really bad shape. We spent about $75,000 to get this house ready for sale. And we ended up selling it for $730,000. We probably would have been in the fives if we sold it as is. So, we $75,000 investment for about a $200,000 increase in price. We do a couple of things. We buy homes, distressed homes in neighborhoods, and basically flip them.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Listing Launchpad Director's Cut. My name is Jay with I Am Third Media, and today we have a little bit of a different variation of a director's cut, because typically we do this while the listing is active, but this one is already done. So I actually don't even have to give you the disclosure, but there's such a cool story that comes with it. It's good and bad just because of the complexity of how this went down. So I wanted to, and I didn't even shoot this, but I figured this story had to be told because it's such a unique story and a big journey for the seller. And my good friend, Greg Owen, was the listing agent that was able to navigate this through for his seller. And this was in Kent, Washington, 26318 127th Avenue Southeast. So I'm going to bring Greg on so he can give us the scoop on what went down. What's going on, Greg?
Jay, how you doing? It's good to be
good.
with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we're gonna have to work on getting you on the director's cut, when the listing is live. So it's gonna, help other people. But this story was so cool. I was just like, we gotta tell it.
Yeah, no, we got one coming up, a couple coming up, so we'll get everything in the right order. But this story does need to be told because it's a unique transaction that involved a whole bunch of different things that we don't often see in the same transaction. So roll back a few months to when we started this journey, and Corey, who is the daughter of the owner of the home, reached out and said, "Hey, we've had this house. It's been a rental. The renter's moving out. We need to sell it." And so I met her there, and it was a rough rental. It had water damage. It needed sheetrock repaired. All the floors had to go. All the kitchen had to. Yeah, we stripped everything out of the house, and came in with new carpet. And we painted everything. In a sheriff's sale. And so my client, Corey, power of attorney for her mom, Kwan, and Kwan lives in China. So it's a sheriff's sale, but it's also a legit FERPTA, and we always deal with FERPTA every time we do a transaction. There's always a FERPTA form in there. And I don't know, 99% of them don't really apply. This one did. So we had a legit FERPTA case that we needed to process our way through in conjunction with the sheriff's sale. And there was a redemption period on the sheriff's sale, and that redemption period expired in January. So we timed our listing so that we would go live right after that redemption period expired. And that's what we did. We went live with it. Took a month and a half. We put a new roof on, as a matter of fact. We did replace the skylights, did everything, and really made this house pretty. And
by the way,
live with it.
The photos are not really helping the story because the photos look great. Like because we're seeing the after everything is done. My goodness, do you have any before photos that I can maybe throw in here? Because I feel like because I've talked to you about this several times, so I can kind of envision it. But if
Yeah.
someone's just looking at this photo for the first time, they're like, oh, I can't even imagine how bad it could have been.
How bad could it have been? Yeah, I do have some photos, and I'll get those to you so we can
Awesome.
compare those a little bit. Because some of like we're looking at that kitchen right there, and those were dark brown, ugly cabinets with black appliances and
Hmm.
linoleum on the floor that was peeling. And so, yeah, that really doesn't do it justice. We got to see the before picture, so I'll do that. Um,
Absolutely.
so
Now,
we
actually,
went,
before you go on,
yeah,
I
yeah.
did want to ask you because not many people are gonna know, and I don't want people thinking, "Oh, like, do all real estate agents, come in and when they list their house, like they flip the house upside down and do all these remodel." So, give us a little bit of a backstory of the Greg Owen, the real estate agent, and then the other part of the venture that you're part of that allows this to happen.
Sure. So, for me, when I help someone sell their house, I'm going to come in and we're going to identify which projects we absolutely need to do in order to you really get the top dog dollar for the home. Now, sometimes that means we're just going to clean the carpets. Sometimes it means we're just going to paint, but some of them we really needed to. And this one in particular was just in really bad shape. We spent about $75,000 to get this house ready for sale, and we ended up selling it for 730,000. We probably would have been in the fives if we sold it as is. So we $75,000 investment for about a $200,000 increase in price. And so I also am partners on an LLC. It's called 4QP, which stands for Fourth Quarter Properties, because you don't this old Pete Carroll thing. You don't win in the first, you don't win in the second, you win in the fourth quarter. And so that's what happens when a couple of guys form an LLC during football season, right? It gets a football reference. For QP LLC, we do a couple of things. We buy homes, distressed homes in neighborhoods, and basically flip them, right? What you see. We invest money to bring them back to the standards of the neighborhood and refresh that home, make it what it needs to be, and then turn around and sell it. We also partner with homeowners that own distressed homes that don't have the capital to be able to put into that home to get it ready for sale. Similar to this one here, right? It needed $75,000 worth of work. And when folks don't have that kind of capital, we'll partner with them and do the work, right? We'll front the money, we'll do the work, we'll get the contractors in there, we'll get it all done. And then we will turn around and sell the house for them for, in this case, about $200,000 more than it could have been sold before. And that's cool for them because it allows them to get that house right where it needs to be and they don't have to shell out that money. And it's good for us because then we share in the profits with the homeowner, right? So we say, oh, we can sell it for 550, but if we put $50,000 into it, we can sell it for 700. So let's look at what that net gain is, and we'll profit share with the homeowners on that. So it helps them get where they want to be.
Man, so you guys take on that financial risk up front. So
Right.
there's got to be a very, very detailed and reliable due diligence that you're going to do to make sure that, you're not going to just dump 75 grand and then not be able to recoup that on the end of it. Like, how does that process? I mean, that sounds to me like it goes way beyond just a regular CMA.
Yeah, it really does. And so I've got a spreadsheet, right? Does it make sense or does it not make sense? Basically, at the end of the spreadsheet, it's either green or it's red. And but inputting the information into that spreadsheet is all about getting quotes and bids on work, doing inspections of the home so we know how much we need to do. And more often than not, that number turns up red when I enter all that information because it just doesn't make sense. And but when it does make sense, it turns out to be a good project for everybody. So what do we do, right? This house, for example, This one, fortunately, is built on a slab, so there was no crawl space. Crawl space and attics, two things that scare me the most, right? Because they're going to be the things that could cost the most amount of money to remediate, and they hide things, and we often don't know what's hidden. Fortunately, this one was built on slab, so we get our contractors in to give us quotes on the repairs that we need to be. We add, excuse me, we add 10% to that because everything's more expensive than we expect it's going to be when we first start. And then we pencil in our acquisition costs, right? Because you got to buy the place. If it's a flip model, you got to buy the place. You got to hold the place, right? It's expensive. You got to make your payments and your insurance, and then you got to turn around and sell. And all of that stuff costs money. So all of that goes into the computation, and then if at the end there's enough profit, there's enough meat on the bone to make it make sense, then we'll do it. Pull the trigger on that. I think we've done. Last year, we did 4 complete flips where our LLC bought the house, renovated it, and then we turned around and sold it. And then we did a few partnerships, like I described, where we don't buy the house, but we front the money, and then profit share with the owners.
So, so this seller who is in another country had basically because they were working with you, they got the benefit of the whole making it look good to sell for profit. That's a great deal. Like, they had no skin in the game other than to participate in the profit.
Yeah, this particular project was even more of a hybrid of that, where they actually did they did spend some of their capital going into it. So it's even more of a kind of a hybrid of the whole thing. But yes, basically, it's a person who lives in another country, and the power of attorney, Corey, my client, lives in Boston. So, and she travels internationally quite a bit. So, really, she walked away in October, and with a handshake and a written agreement, and we're going to do this, and basically then that was it. It was my job then to project manage that from that point forward, and work with our contractors and get all the right people in there, and make it. I mean, it turned out beautifully. It turned out very well.
That's a pretty incredible story in terms of like the convenience for the seller. I mean, that's
right.
That is amazing, because the amount of stress and different things that you go through as a seller trying to sell your house. I mean, how lucky is this person?
Well, I like to think that she feels lucky. I do know that this was only the first half of the saga, because it really turned into a saga, and and I know that she's expressed to me how much she appreciates the level of service that I provided for her to help get this thing done. And what I tell people, particularly when we're selling their home, it's my job to eat their stress, right? It's my job to make this process as painless as possible, which means I'm going to demonstrate that you can trust me, and then I'm going to take care of you. And once you're comfortable with that, then I'm going to take care of business, and I'm going to eat your stress. That's the phrase I use with them all the time. So you don't have to, I will, and because that's my job. I'm the professional, and this is what I do. So what may be stressful for them isn't stressful for me, because it's what I do. But if I eat their stress for them, then they feel better about that.
Okay, I love that, eating their stress. That should we should almost make that like your slogan or something.
Yeah, right. Let me
eat your stress. Yep. So what's the second part of the saga? Like, okay, got everything done, and the real drama. Tell us about the real drama.
Yeah, really, everything went like it was supposed to, right? We get a house ready for sale, we put it on the market, we have an open house, we get some offers, and boom, now we're in contract. And so just, all right, here we go. We're cruising right along. Everything's good. But it turned out that we ended up determining that, oh, wait a second, the certificate of sale that's associated with this and the deed of trust that needed to be done in October was never completed. And then it turns out that the attorney who was supposed to work on that had taken a sabbatical and had not passed that case along to anybody else in his office. And so it became a scramble between our escrow closer and the attorney's office to get this piece done. And in the middle of the transaction, our escrow closer takes a different job and leaves. And so somebody else has to come in and pick that piece up. So we've got pretty major changes in personnel in the middle of a complicated transaction because sheriff's sale, certificate, deed of trust. Oh, and there's still the FERPTA issue that has to be attended to along the way. And so we ended up experiencing delay after delay after delay while we waited for essentially the law firm to work with the sheriff's office to work with the court to get all the paperwork routed the proper way. And it's the certificate of sale that needed to be signed by a judge in court so that we could create the deed of trust. And so it took a couple weeks to get all of that done, only to find out that the court wanted a different certificate of sale than the one that was
Oh.
presented to them. So then we had to roll back and start that process over again. Now it happened much quicker the second time around. And I got to know some very, very nice people at the sheriff's office. Spent a lot of time talking to the supervisor there, begging and pleading for her to, can you just make this happen as quick as possible? Um,
Mm.
I even threw on the old, come on, help an old retired cop out here, would you?
I was gonna say, did that help out at all?
I think it did actually. I think it's like, okay, chief, I got you. We can help you out. So, um, uh, at any rate, it was delay after delay. Now, oftentimes when closings are being delayed, it can really negatively impact the parties to the transaction, right? A seller needs to move because they got to take a new job. The buyer has to get out of their house or their apartment and get into the one that they're buying. The silver lining to this dark cloud was the fact that our buyers lived with their parents. They were first time home buyers, so they had the luxury of, okay, if we delay, it's all right. And the house is vacant, and my clients don't, there was no need for them, there was no haste. So we at least had that on our side. But we ended up, after when it was time for the third extension to closing, we signed a rental agreement with the buyers so they could move in early. So they actually moved in about a week before we actually closed the transaction. It was a 30-day closing period that extended to 62 days, which is a
Wow.
long time and it was a lot of stress, even for me who things don't stress me out. It started to stress me out just a little bit. Come on, I got some people
Hmm.
here we're trying to help, but
It's like, hey,
in the end,
I did enough
it
eating of the stress
worked
there,
out.
huh?
Yeah, yeah. It ate a lot of stress. I might have gained a few pounds during that couple months, but it was fun. It was,
So,
and it's a great learning opportunity because again, FERPTA issues don't happen very often. We don't very often transact homes that have uh, certificates of sale and sheriff's deeds of trust. So just a lot of moving parts that we don't typically deal with. It wasn't your cookie cutter. Hey, I got a house. I want to sell a house. Let's throw some paint on it, put a sign in the front yard, and just wait for the people to come with buckets of money. This one took a little work and a lot of patience.
so I usually try to get some type of like a learning lesson, right, for our viewers. Like what, but I was thinking the whole time while listening to you, there's nothing you could have controlled that could have prevented this because it was the third party individuals whom you have no control or jurisdiction over that caused this to happen. So I guess the ultimate takeaway is the fact that should something like this ever happen again, or if someone comes to you and says, "Hey, this is happening," you'd at least know how to, help them, guide them through. Unfortunately,
Yeah, for sure. I learned a lot from this transaction. I think the one lesson that is most important for me to take away from this is to stay on top of the transaction, even when you're told. And I was told, we got this, everything's good, don't worry about it. Because I reached out early on to a particular person and said, hey, listen, um, I've never done one of these with a sheriff's sale before.
mm,
Anything I need to know, and who needs to do what, when, where, why, and how. And the answer was, we got this. Okay, cool. You got this. Um, it's not always the case, right?
until you
Sometimes,
don't.
yeah, sometimes things slip up and fall through the cracks. And so, just for myself, um, we got this isn't necessarily an answer that I'll just accept. I actually want to see that you got it, right? Like,
Absolutely.
show me the money, Jerry. Show me the money.
Absolutely. Well, so I think I just thought of one. There is a takeaway, meaning as agents, especially when you're working with good partners, like people that are really reliable, sometimes you do let your guard down. And I've experienced this where I had an amazing transaction coordinator, I have amazing escrow people. So once, you kind of go through that whole getting people under the contract, you just let your guard down and go, rest of my crew will handle it.
Right.
But then at the end of the day, it still falls on you as the agent, as the chief executive stress eater, right? Like
Right.
you, because you can't go back to the seller and say, "Oh, my hands are tied. This isn't gonna work because some lawyer decided to be a irresponsible person." You can't do that. So perhaps that is actually a great takeaway, that no matter how much you trust someone or trust the process, you still have to be on top of it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. 100%. That's that lesson for me. Right? Is just, especially if you get into a complex transaction. Right? It's not the cookie cutter thing that we do most frequently. This one is complex, and so it just requires extra attention. And I don't know that anybody's extra attention anywhere along the line would have changed much of this, because we have a team, our lenders and our title officers and our escrow closers, and those are the people that we work with all the time. But we're dealing with a completely separate firm of lawyers who do their thing, and you no amount of appealing to them really resonated, right? Because I can go to an escrow closer or a lender and say, hey, you know what delaying this closing means? And they'll go, yes, we do know what delaying the closing means because they've had to experience it.
Mhm.
These lawyers, they don't get it. It doesn't,
Right.
well,
They're
I know,
just like, it is what it is.
go sign an extension. I know you can do that. Okay,
Friday,
cool.
4 p.m. We're out.
We're impacting people's lives, right?
Right.
And again, we're so fortunate that this circumstance didn't mean anybody didn't have a place to live, but it could have. If the circumstances were different, this could have been, gosh dang, now what are we going to do? We had to move out of our
Mm,
apartment. We got no place to go.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, just a hypothetical question.
Yeah.
What do you think the involvement of the going through the whole process of that, renovation, making it look amazing to get more money for it? What do you think, like the net profit that the seller experienced here? So basically, what could it have sold for if it was just as is? I'm just kind of curious because I mean I think that's, you basically, as an agent, you came out with a solution that helped this seller not just sell it but also pocket a good chunk of money.
Yeah, you bet. Kind of the baseline for this house when we looked at, what can we sell it for now? It's that 550, 560 range.
Mm.
as is, right?
Okay.
And we closed at 7:30. So
Wow.
yeah, it was a blight on the neighborhood, and
Mm.
that was just the outside that looked way better than the inside. The inside was bad,
Nice.
and so yeah, we made them some nice money,
I love it. I
and
love it.
the buyers, first time home buyers, got a great home with everything new inside of it, and
Yep.
didn't have to pay new construction price. So everybody wins.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. It doesn't have to be I win, you lose. It everybody can go around and be all happy. And the I think the agent that can bring all that together. There's a reason why in some states, like in Washington, real estate agents call real estate brokers, because you're brokering a deal, and the deal doesn't always have to be like I win, you lose.
Right.
The deal that has both sides happy about what they end up with, like that's the ultimate deal.
It is, right. If all parties to that transaction walk away feeling like I got what I wanted, then
Right.
okay, boom. And it by its nature can be adversarial, because
Right.
you get two different parties that want two different things, but you find the sweet spot in the middle that meets the needs, as many of the needs. Like an old lawyer told me one time that any successful negotiation is going to end with two parties walking away not getting everything they wanted.
Mm.
That's the way it is, right? Would my clients have wanted 750? Yeah, but they weren't going to get it. So would the buyers want to buy it for 700? Sure, but they didn't get it. But they're
Right.
all happy, right? We found a spot in the middle that made sense for everybody, and now everybody's happy. And that's what it's
I
all
love
about.
that. Lots of wisdom coming from Mr. Stress Eater.
Yes, that's right.
All right, well, Greg, thank you so much for this. It's a cool story, lot to learn from, and I just look forward to having you more on Director's Cut as we get to work on more listings together. You can find Greg at gregelwin.com, 360-789-5557. Mr. Mill Creek. So stay tuned, because Greg's got some really cool stuff that's gonna be coming. So, like, we gotta get a bunch of hashtags, like hashtag Mill Creek Guy, hashtag Stress Eater, like hashtag a whole bunch of stuff. So, I cannot wait to
Yeah.
get all of these things rolling. But I just really appreciate you from just being an agent that actually cares, and really someone who is looking out for that win-win relationship, rather than like, let me step on somebody. Like, I just, every time I talk to you, I learn a ton. I guess we might as well tell them, like, Greg's the Mill Creek Chamber president. I'm on the Mill Creek Chamber board, so we see each
Yeah.
other outside of the whole real estate stuff. But just overall, amazing person. Mill Creek is a great town. A lot of people are gonna start to recognize you, not
Yeah.
as the former sheriff, but as the Mill Creek guy who's amazing at selling real estate.
Well, Jay, that means the world to me. I appreciate it. And I also want to tell everybody that this is an awesome man. And just the time that we spend together, we'll work and do work stuff, but we talk about life and life stuff and our hometown and our families and everything that goes around. So much love to you, my friend. Appreciate you.
That's that's what it's all about. Appreciate you, my friend, and we'll see you back here probably next week, right? Next in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yep. Yep. Here we
Okay,
go.
sounds good. We'll
All
see you
right.
then.
Thanks,
All
Jay.
right.
Bye, everybody.